Aloha kako, and welcome to the West Hawaii Association of Realtors 2020 Mayoral Candidate Interviews. My name is Kristen Moreland. I'm the broker owner of Hikino Property Management. I chair the Government Affairs Committee for our association. Our committee extended the opportunity to participate in our interviews to each candidate who filed. While our association does not endorse candidates, we believe it is important to inform our membership and community at large. This is an opportunity for the candidates to answer questions related to real estate and real property rights as they pertain to the candidate's platform and policies. The interview will consist of an introduction and biography of the candidate, an opening statement of 1 minute. Then we'll go into 6 questions. Each response will be limited to 2 minutes. We'll offer a summary statement from the candidate, and we will conclude. This interview will be conducted by Marissa Ashley from Action Team Realty. Marissa is a member of our Government Affairs Committee. Now let's meet the candidate. Stacy Higa was born and raised in Hilo. He has a proven track record of running small and mid-sized businesses, such as Ed and Don's of Hawaii, as its general manager. In government, he served as chair and executive director of a state commission that oversaw federal funding, and he also previously served as chair and council member for Hawaii County. In the last 5 years, he has had the privilege to serve as president and CEO of Na Leo o Hawaii, a nonprofit that operates the only public access TV station for Hawaii Island. He is the only candidate that has diverse and extensive leadership roles that span business, government, and nonprofit sectors. He offers his leadership, his passion, his experience, his commitment, and his track record of getting things done. He wants to reinvent our county government and make it more responsive to the needs of our community. He believes and trusts that our county workers want to be recognized for the great work that they do. We just need a leader who can inspire them. And Stacy hopes that you will honor him with the opportunity to make this happen. At this time, I invite candidate Higa to give his opening remarks. Candidate.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you folks today. Pretty much your introduction said it all. I'm not going to be redundant here. I'm just going to tell you that, born and raised, like you said, from Hawaii Island. I'm a product of Kamehameha School. So I was very fortunate to have Bernice Pauahi, Bishop, as a benefactor to allow me, in my opinion, to have the greatest equalizer of all, which is an education. And I come before you today, real humble from the standpoint that, yes, I have a 40-year track record of working in the business community. And as my bio said, I check all 3 boxes, business experience, state and county experience. And then the nonprofit, I think was the best thing that I could have been doing for the last 5 years. It made me kind of change who I am as a person to try to understand the needs of our community. I always believe if your nonprofits are hurting in your community is probably hurting as well. So I'm here, offering myself as a candidate, just as choices. I just hope people out there will look at and vet all of the candidates and look at us, not like a popularity contest. I hope we're gonna elect someone that's a proven leader who can actually get the job done. And that's what I want to bring to the table. So aloha all of you, and welcome the privilege to be able to educate everybody a little bit more about who I am. So thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. And now on to our questions. Marissa?
Yes, thanks, Stacy, for being here for the questions. And the first one is about permitting. In 2015, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism released a report for housing demand, saying the Big Island needed 21,564 additional housing units by 2025. We are nowhere near this goal. Contractors cite one of their biggest challenges is the time the permitting approval process takes. Our current permitting process is complicated by a lack of effective communication and procedures between approving departments. What will you do as mayor to streamline the permitting process and install time limits for review?
All right, great question. I've been through this process as well. When I was trying to build the Na Leo's expansion here, I got caught in the building permit process, and it took a long time. It caused us a lot of delays in getting our building erected here in Hilo. As mayor, one of the first things I want to do is streamline that building process, because first of all, you know, a big problem we have is you end up paying for your permit at the tail end. When first elected, I'm going to actually make the building department collect the fees up front, because then you have this idea about an expectation. When the public pays for something, there's an expectation. Right now, there is no expectation except when they're ready to come in and pay for it. The other thing is about using third-party processors. We need to be able to have our architects and engineers stand by their licenses and stand by their credentials, because I believe that the county has no liability. So why are we out there actually, you know, approving permits from that standpoint? It should be more of a monetary to make sure that people are and will be following the various building codes that we have to implement. So once I can start getting that, that'll help streamline the processes to make things go a lot faster, because time is money in our business.
Thank you for that. And for our second question, it's about workforce housing. And everyone agrees that there's a need for more affordable housing on the Big Island. Workforce housing brings housing closer to jobs, alleviates traffic congestion, and promotes healthier families and communities. What ideas do you have to develop and support development of workforce housing?
Oh, this is awesome, because I'm a big believer in workforce housing. I hate the word affordable housing, because what's affordable to everybody is so very different. So workforce housing is a very key component to my platform. For example, I understand, you know, with the workforce in the Kona area, for example, a lot of the hotels employ people, and they're migrating and commuting from Ocean View, from Hilo, from Pahoa, from Kohala. So there's a lot of people impacting our road. So my whole thing is working with developers and the county. We should actually be working real hard to develop workforce housing. And when we have workforce housing, that actually stops other people coming here and actually applying and being able to get into the affordable housing, because you have to be able to prove where you're going to work. Very, very important thing. So workforce housing, live, work, and play. You know, we have a lot of various communities. Waikoloa can be expanded a little bit more. There's pockets out there that will allow for workforce housing to be developed, especially for the tourism industry. And at the same time, I want to look at agriculture, right? I want to be able to have more people in the Waimea area, Kamuela area, Hamaku area. So we need to develop workforce housing in those areas. As we develop our agricultural economics, we're going to have the workforce readily available to be able to perform work, like I said, live, work, and play in the areas that they're actually going to work. So I'm a big believer in workforce housing.
Thank you for that. And let's ask a question about zoning, and it's a two-part question. And the first part of the question is, what's your position on short-term vacation rentals in both non-conforming and resort node zone locations? And the second part of it is, do you plan to open additional properties for non-conforming use permits?
Okay, let me take number one first, yeah. I believe our whole zoning is out of whack. You know, for example, we have people living in agricultural subdivisions, which they don't do agriculture. So we should be looking at completely overhauling our entire zoning code. And when I look at short-term vacation rentals, you know, that word non-conforming and resort node zone, well, we all know resort zones on this island are very, very difficult to get. I mean, for example, in Hilo, we only have one resort area, and that's in the, I believe, down by the airport. It's the one section under a couple hundred acres. That's the only other resort zone besides Banyan Drive. So for development in resorts in the Hilo side, non-existent. So I would rather go back and start looking at redoing all of our zoning codes, and then having specific areas for short-term vacation rentals included in that. I think that's part of our heritage. That's part of the new norm that we're going to have for tourism. We need to have people be able to come into our communities and learn what our local communities are like from a resort standpoint. Not everybody wants to stay at a hotel with a swimming pool, that type of thing. So how do I open up additional properties for non-conforming use permits? Same way, it's all going to be done through the zoning process. We need a complete overhaul of our zoning codes, and that'll include places for short-term and long-term vacation rentals. They need to be included in the discussion instead of an after fact, what happens like what's happening now. It's sort of like knee-jerk reaction. Yeah, so I want to be proactive and make it happen.
Thank you for your thoughts on that. And then we also have another question about short-term vacation rentals. And it's with the COVID-19 restrictions, the current STVR owners have not been able to rent their units. And in light of this restriction, would your administration offer a complimentary extension to the current expiration of the STVR permits through the year in 2021?
Yeah, why 2021? I think it needs to go a lot further than that. I mean, so I kind of answered that question by saying, yeah, we need to do more, because short-term vacation rentals, as I said, are a big part of our rebranding or reimagination of what I believe tourism on our island should be. Having these types of vacation rentals should be inclusive in communities. You know, I tell a story. I went to one of my friend's houses in Waikoloa, and he had a neighbor that had a short-term vacation rental. And I heard I'm running for mayor, so I heard all the impacts, because I asked him about short-term. And then I turned it around and asked him, I said, well, have you guys talked to the neighbor? Have you guys actually shared whatever the perceived or real problems may or may not be? And he said, no. I said, well, you know, before you're making a determination, why don't you try to talk story, vala'au? You know, in Hawaii, it's all about being inclusive. And that's why, for me, if I'm the mayor, I would look at short-term vacation rentals as, again, it's a revenue source. It's a good, clean industry. You know, it's a way to actually embrace tourism into our communities. Yeah, you know, people come complaining about parking or noise. Yeah, we have laws to take care of those things. So my whole thing is allowing people to live the way they would want to live. At the same time, that's why I said redo the zoning code so that people can make informed decisions about where short-term vacation rentals actually could operate, instead of doing it on a knee-jerk reaction after the fact. So I want to be proactive and help. But going back, people are already in. We grandfather those guys in and then work and negotiate it out with the various communities. So yeah, you got my answer on that. I would actually extend it further than 2021.
Okay, great. Thanks for your thoughts on that. And then the next question is about infrastructure improvements. And there are many areas of the island that are responsibilities of the county and the state, and they overlap, such as roads. And if you're elected, what would you do to propose to coordinate the state and county projects?
Great question. You know, because of my business background, I realized that I'm a big home rule guy. You know, I like to be the person that's going to be, if it's a county project and this is our island, I want to be the one making decisions and advocating on our behalf. Let's face it, the guys in Honolulu, the State Department of Transportation, we're one of the how many counties out there. So there is no real urgency on their part. The urgency comes from our part. So it's very important that as a mayor, I'm going to be appointing directors and myself to actually help coordinate. I would want to be the one to advocate real hard to make sure that our state and county projects mesh and coincide with each other. Too many times we have this disconnect. The state wants to do left and the county wants to go right. Next thing you know, we're in the middle doing nothing. So my whole attitude is home rule starts with me, and I'd actually be the one proposing, coordinating, working. I'll fight for the STIP projects. I'll fight for the federal funding, because it's all about making sure that the funds will be there, which we can do through our CIP and through our own funding mechanisms. And at the same time, work on reimbursements, work with other agencies to kind of help supplement. And if I'm a good negotiator that I think I am, I'll make the deal happen. And next thing you know, those guys will end up paying most of the bill for me. That's how a business guy needs to operate our county. And that's what I bring to the table. So real easy. That's a real easy one for me. County should always take the lead in making sure that we get what we want.
Great. And for the next question, and it's actually our last question, is about taxation. And the primary source of revenue is the collection of real property tax. What other revenue streams do you envision, and how do you plan to balance the budget?
Great question. You know, as the county council chair back in 2005, my job was to actually make the budget. Back then it was $349 million, which was a record back in 2005. And as the chair, I had to go toe-to-toe with Harry Kim's budget back in the day. So I understand and I realize how the budget system works. I also know where they hide money. You know, the biggest thing that's out there when you hear the balanced budget, they have this nefarious thing called fund balance. We all know what fund balance is, right? That's a fictitious number that says, oh, we're going to balance our budget with money left over that we didn't spend from the previous year. Oh boy. So I'll tell you this, At $349 million back in the day of 2005 to now $580 million, I'll just ask people this. Do you see the improvements of a $230 million increase in our budget? Because I don't. I like to see it. So I'm a business guy. My bottom line is this. I'm going to streamline our government. I'm going to freeze all non-essential hiring. I'm going to go into the departments and find all those slush funds where they have monies hidden. I'm going to pull them out. And I'm actually going to run the county like a good business that it should be run. Efficiency got to start from the mayor on down. And I've done it in many other companies, and I will do it in the county government as well. So there's a lot of revenue sources out there just by streamlining. And then at the same time, you heard me earlier about the fees for the public works. I believe public works could almost be self-sufficient just by charging the proper permitting fees and collecting them up front. So lots of ways to balance this budget. But again, fictitious numbers out there. You need a business guy that's going to be able to expose it, transparency, and then run this county like a business.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts. And we're going to ask you for a summary statement.
Thank you again for the opportunity, to introduce myself to all of you. If you get a couple things from me today, I hope it is that you realize and see how passionate and serious I am about being interviewed for this job. Born and raised on the Big Island, I remember what it was like when I was growing up. I want to make sure that the values and the way of life, regarding how our kids in Kupuna are taken care of, is reinvented back into our way of life today. I am running because I am deeply concerned about our futures, post-COVID-19. I want to use every bit of my knowledge and experience that I have to make sure and help Hawaii Island residents that you guys will be safe and be taken care of. County government needs to step up big time to take care of our people. And if you elect me mayor, I'll make sure that does happen. So aloha.
Mahalo, candidate Higa, and interviewer Marissa Ashley for your willingness to participate in our program. We wish you the best on Election Day. To our audience, mahalo for tuning in. Don't forget, July 9th is the last day to register to vote in Hawaii. Primary election ballots will be delivered July 21st for the August 8th primary, and the general election is November 3rd. Mahalo for watching, and please vote. Aloha.